What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Fanpreneur Podcast. I am your host, Marcus Turner.
I am Dr. Tamara.
And I am Alexander.
Man, and we are super excited for having everybody here. We have an amazing guest. This man has literally been changing a lot of lives. But I want to go ahead and get my mom to really intro, because they have that type of relationship when you're a parent is something totally different. So, Mamiya, go ahead and do your thing.
Thank you so much, guys. We have the amazing Damon Dillard. I'm so excited to have him as a part of our Fanpreneur Podcast, along with my business partners, which are also my sons, Alexander Turner and Marcus Turner. Mr. Damon, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Listen, I'm crazy excited. I want to throw some acknowledgement again right back to you and your sons. I said this a little bit earlier, hoping that we were already recording, but we weren't. Okay. But I had a chance to meet you all at a mastermind event, I think a little over a year and a half ago. It was Marvin's event, actually. You all were in the front row, attentive. You all were taking a ton of notes. And it's near and dear to my heart, the relationship that a son is able to have with their mother, because as I told you before, I don't. Not because my mother is no longer living, but just because of some differences and beliefs. And to be able to see that, I know what it does for your sons, even if they don't realize it or not. Sometimes you don't even realize what you have until you no longer have access to it. And so I honor you all. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm ready to serve.
Excellent. Well, it semi breaks my heart that, you don't have that type of relationship. And, for me, family, and for anybody, I hope, family is of the utmost importance. Nothing is more important than family. I mean, a lot of families kind of fall out, this, that, and the other. But when you have your family by your side and supportive and there for you, you walk different. You are totally different. So it's time to bring families together. It's time to build some wealth together. And even though some families may disagree, it's not even, you have to know how to have humility and say, you know what, let me listen, because everybody's opinion, it doesn't matter if you're the parent or the child, everybody's opinion is valid. Okay. Right. And everybody wants to be validated. They want to be heard. They don't want to be interrupted. They want to be able to be heard. And the fact that we have created what is called the Fanpreneurs, which is a family of entrepreneurs, because we all have our own talents. My husband's not here right now. They're bonus dad. We all have our own special talents, but we still come together in our main business. So when we had an opportunity to hear how illustrious you speak and how you command the room, and to hear from a standpoint that your mom is not in your life, it's heartbreaking to me, because I would want every child, whether you are a small child or an adult, to know that you have the love and support of your mother and your father. Okay. And it speaks into how you move on a daily basis. It speaks to how you are in business, and to be in business with your family. There's a lot of challenges. I mean, we fight, we argue, we stump out the room and, this, that, and the other. But no matter what, we always come back in prayer and come together as a family unit. Okay. We always come together as a family unit. So we're going to speak on that today in reference to family. And we want to hear what you have to contribute to those individuals who are going into business, and how they can stay strong and persevere. And because when I look at you, I'm just like, wow, the way you speak, it's just like, it mesmerizes the room. Yeah. It mesmerizes the room. Where did you get that from?
My mother. I learned this a long time ago. There's laws, there's principles to creating success. So where I try to teach from and try to speak from as much as possible is from universal truths. Skills and tactics can work for some people and not for others, but principles are time tested and proven. I think I heard somebody once say that if you practice the principles, you can participate in the promise. And funny enough, my mother was the one that created who you see right now. And so where on one side, it could be one of the most grueling, treacherous, hardest things for me to ever talk about, in the same right, it's one of the greatest, most beautiful things that have ever happened to me. She gave me
still with you every day. She's still with you every day?
She's still with me every single day. Her name is Sabina Arrington, and hopefully she sees this. I'm pretty sure she still watches my content, but I love her to life. But to speak into your question, I'll never forget, I grew up a Jehovah's Witness. And if anybody doesn't know what that means, I'm in the insurance industry, but I've literally been knocking on old people's doors since I was 3. And so at the age of 5, I was speaking in front of groups of 500 to 750 people. And we had a specific meeting where they would critique you on your ability to communicate. And I truly believe that communication is the number one skill any entrepreneur must cultivate. And outside of that, it's leadership. But when you learn how to communicate, not just communicating with other people, but also how to communicate with yourself, it makes you a stronger person. But I can literally hear my mother's voice right now. She used to always say to me, Damon, do not be lazy with your language. She'll always tell me, Damon, like she would make me read out loud and say, make sure you are enunciating your words properly. And so I remember the kids used to make fun of me when I was little, say, you talk real white. And I'm not sure what that means now. We're just entrepreneurs. That's what we do.
I used to get that all the time.
But yeah, it was.
I just had to compliment.
It's crazy because as I gotten older, when my mom pulled us, I'm from Chicago, and my mom pulled us out of Chicago. We lived in the burbs. Mm-hmm. And at that time, that means I'm telling my age, I used to talk like a Valley girl. So it was like, and everybody like, what? So they used to say that to me all the time, but they would say that to Marcus and Alex. And, they're like, and then for a moment, they thought their dad was white. So that was kind of funny. And
so light skinned to us.
Right. He was very fair. But yet and still and Marcus, he was in debate, and Alex, enunciating your words is absolutely important. Okay. There should be no confusion in what it is that you say. Mean what you say and say what you mean, and be clear and concise. And, if you tell, everyone's always, well, you're so direct. I'm like, if I'm direct for a reason, because there's no confusion in what I say. There's no mix. You will always understand. And that's why I always tell them, you will always understand what I am saying to you and where I'm coming from, because I'm going to always be direct. And I think that could be a good thing, or that could be a bad thing. And it hasn't done me wrong thus far, but I can say I've missed some things. My son, Alex, he's my psychiatrist sometimes. And we have a little skit about him and Alex, him and Marcus. Marcus was laying on a couch and Alex was in the chair, and he was acting like the psychiatrist. And he's like, are you taking this personal? He said, yes, I'm taking this personal. And they teach me. And I love that, because to see them as men now, it's like, wow, I gave birth to you, and here it is, you're teaching me. And, and Alex has his saying is, you act like a child. I said, my father lives in Chicago. I have a bonus dad myself. My father is deceased, and he wasn't really in my life. And I didn't really have a father until I was 25 years old. Even tell me that wasn't my father for a long time. They didn't even know that he wasn't my father. They thought that he was my actual dad because he means that much to me. So family can come from different places. It, doesn't necessarily have to be blood. They have a bonus dad now. Their father is deceased. He actually passed from COVID. And that was my ex-husband. I can honestly say that kind of changed our family a little bit. Because even though we were no longer married, we were married 13 years, he was still a part of our life. Him and my husband got along. My current husband, they got along. Right, guys? I mean, I think it was weird that you guys went to Six Flags with your dad and your bonus dad. And what were the kids asking you guys? I remember you guys telling me. What were some of the questions they were asking you?
I don't even remember. That was so long ago.
I do.
I don't really
remember that.
So I remember them coming back saying to me, Mom, they were asking, like, who is that? And they said, that's our dad and our stepfather, and they were like, they get along. They were like, yeah, but we don't know how to do anything but get along, if that makes sense. Life is too short. And what I want for the boys, for the men's, I can't even say boys anymore, for the men's, is to understand and to know that life is full of enjoyment. That's why when people, they're like, dang, every time you guys are somewhere, you guys are always together. We travel together. We have traveled around the world together. We learn together. We pray together, and we do business together. And that, again, is where it leads to the Fanpreneurs, just starting the foundation. And I think I can honestly say it started with my mother, because she was in business and she had me as a teenager. And so, I was born in 1968, and she was an entrepreneur. And so that entrepreneur spirit, the boys have never known me, but me and their dad to be in business for ourselves. And so having the freedom to be in business is still a level of hard work.
Sure.
So when did you start your entrepreneur journey?
I've been a full-time entrepreneur since 2014.
Wow, 9 years.
Yeah, I believe every entrepreneur has two different dates. They have the date that they sign up for the opportunity of entrepreneurship, and then they have the date where they commit to the process of becoming the entrepreneur. And for me, the industry where I made my bag in was the insurance industry. And so the date that I signed up for the opportunity was when I signed up to get my license. But when I actually committed to the process was January 9th of 2015. For me, entrepreneurship is exactly what the last four letters says in the word entrepreneurship. It's a ship. A lot of people down people that have jobs. I know we don't, but in this economy right now, a lot of people are privileged. I think the only difference between having employment as a job and being an entrepreneur is the ship. In other words, how quickly or what direction you're going in to get to what destination you have in mind. I think as entrepreneurs, we're simply looking to condense decades into days. What we value may be a little bit different from someone who works a job. What they value may be money, but what we value is time. And so typically whenever I have an opportunity to mentor or coach anybody, the first thing I ask them, which is a quintessential question, and a lot of people, it banes my existence to even see the response sometimes. It should be a simple question. It's, what do you want? Hey, now that you're a part of this opportunity, now that you're an entrepreneur, what do you really, really want? And what's crazy, family, is most people can't even make a list of more than 7 things that they desire for their lives. And so how can you decide that entrepreneurship is the best route for you if you don't even know where you're going? And so for me, I decided on entrepreneurship because I just wanted a life of no limits. I wanted to be able to create whatever my mind could come up with in a way to live. I wanted to be able to help other people. I knew that I wanted to make a lot of money, but I wanted to be able to do it in a way that allowed me the time freedom to create a life with my family as well. So entrepreneurship since 2014.
That's dope. So to piggyback off of what you were saying about what they want, I remember I was in network marketing, and one of the first things they asked me to do when I first joined is write 100 wishes, write 100 things that, you know, you want in life. And I remember I was struggling after like 40 or 50. I could not get past 50. It was just, that number was just difficult for me at the time. Now, of course, I can write 100 things because I'm more exposed to a different world as an entrepreneur. I think, like, touching back what you're saying, like, exposure is the biggest thing in entrepreneurship. So my next question for you is, how are you exposing your family to the life of entrepreneurship? Because I know, because I'm not really sure on I've met your wife, but I'm not really sure on how your family intertwines with your specific entrepreneur journey. So like, how are they exposed? How do they, I don't want to say balance, but harmonize with your entrepreneurship journey?
Yeah, they're everything to me. As an entrepreneur, you don't grow in your entrepreneurship endeavors unless you grow as a person. And the truth of the matter is, anybody that's having any issues in their business as an entrepreneur is simply a manifestation of something happening in their personal life. And so there's no way for me to separate what's happening with my family from what's happening with my business at all. The reason why I am the entrepreneur that I am today is because I retired my wife before I made a dime. I told her, I said in 2015, funny story, 2014 was probably one of the worst years of my entire life from every aspect, financially, emotionally, physically, relationally, everything was going to you know what. And I remember towards the end of 2014, we were in a really, really bad space. I was about 3 months past doing my rent. I was about 3 months past doing utilities. Every box was packed in the home. If you all are starting to see the picture right now, I had made a couple of decisions that weren't in alignment with where we wanted to go as a relationship. And I'll never forget, I told her, I said, listen, first of all, if your father doesn't kill me first, I'll make a deal with you. And I told her, I said, listen, if you do not leave me, not only am I going to make this right, but you'll never have to work again in your life. Because at the time, she did not want to work. She was working for Job and Family Services. And I'll never forget, because of my wife's background, that was a very traumatic experience for her to have to go through every single day, to have to see over and over and over families that were from a similar background that she had escaped from, in a sense. And so I remember telling her, like, listen, you'll never have to work again. Now, at that time, as I said, we're already past doing rent, already past doing utilities. I don't have a car. I'm not self-sufficient. All I had was an opportunity. And that's what I love about entrepreneurship. All you need is an opportunity. And I remember the biggest thing that I did that day is the one thing that most people shy away from when it comes to entrepreneurship. And I made a decision. Most people make a choice to go into entrepreneurship, but that still leaves them other opportunities. When you make a decision, you cut off any other possibility. And so I made a decision that day that our lives would never be the same. Within 90 days from that point, we made over $155,000, and I never looked back. Now, I say this to you because I also found a mentor. And I tell people all the time, in life, we only learn through mistakes or through mentors. In other words, we only learn through pain or we learn through people. And so I tell people, listen, when God wants to change something in your life, he doesn't call you over the phone. He doesn't come over the clouds. He sends you a person. But it's our discernment in recognizing who that person is that will lead us one of two places, to poverty or to prosperity. And so I remember finding a mentor at that time. And even as I'm creating success, he always used to ask me, every time I used to come to him with a question about success or my business or building or recruiting or revenue generating activities or what I can do to scale, he never would answer the question directly, Marcus. And Marcus is like, you're not answering my question directly, so I see who you get it from. This is what he would say to me. He would say, well, Damon, how's your family? Bro, I just asked you how to scale my business. Right. But how are you doing? Bro, I'm fine. Like, these people are driving me crazy. Like, we're down 20% in revenue over last month. Like, help me run my business. Well, how's your wife doing? And it took me months. He lives in Pittsburgh. He lives in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I love him to this day. Troy Miles. He was my first mentor in the business, coach in the business, multi-millionaire. And finally, one day I asked him, why do you keep asking me that? He said, Damon, because I do not want you to be a public success, but a private failure.
A private failure. That is absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
that's crazy.
And I wasn't trying to interrupt you on this because your home life speaks to your success. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody is doing the fake it if you make it, but you're out there and you're working. You're like, I'm a big success, but you go home and you be miserable.
Come on. Mom, what I didn't want was, and let me set the record straight. I'm not the pot calling the kettle black. To this day, I will tell people all the time, like, the one thing I'm consistently working on is my home life. Because the truth of the matter is, to create the success that we created in the last 8 years, it took focus on financial success. But guess what? There's something that punched all of us in the mouths in 2020 and made us realize, wait a minute, there's some deficiencies in other areas. Because when you have to sit in your mess that you created, I created financial success, but did I create relational success? I'm reading every book and listening to everything I can on how to financially, but not one time did I read anything about how to be successful relationally, how to become a better father, how to become a better husband. And that's what I realized in 2020. And so you're 100% correct, Marcus, especially when you said the difference between harmony and balance. I don't balance anything in my life, because if I had 5 different categories that are important, that means each category gets 20% of me.
100%.
If I give my wife 20%, she'll leave me. If I give my children 20%, they'll resent me. If I give my business 20%, it goes under. Harmony is when I'm able to have margin, where I'm able to have structure. Structure equals freedom. And so my calendar is my best friend. And so, yes, I'm 100% with you all before I go on another tangent. Y'all know how I do.
No. I mean, it's crazy because, I remember their dad and I, we were married, and before we went into a divorce, we made all this money, but our home, we had all of a sudden became unbalanced. And I'm very open and very honest with my children, my adult children. So they know the whole story. They know everything because I'm very honest with them. And some people like, why do you tell your children all that? I said, because they're adults now and they need to have an understanding of what's going on. And if they get into relationships, and even though I have different relationships with my son, I love them both equally. Someone asked one of my children, love my sons equally. We just have different relationships. Okay. And it's important because that balance of what's going on in your home life, and like I said, there's the number one word that sticks out to me is harmony. Okay. It has to be harmonious to work together. We used to be at war in our meetings because I'm an alpha female when it's business. Okay. When it's business. I don't like to be an alpha female outside of business. Okay. And because daddy's not here, and even though they have their bonus dad, I still have a sense of responsibility. And their bonus dad, he's such a kind, laid back person. He gives up whatever you guys want to do. And I'm like, no, honey, get on that. It's just so, but no, it's like the world is not nice.
Sure.
And you need to be prepared with what's getting ready to go on out here. But you also need to know where you come from. And so for us, going back into the lineage, one of the reasons why I moved to Georgia was to understand our family tree. On my mom's side, our last name is Latson, and that's an uncommon Black last name. And what's crazy is on my biological father's side, they were Jehovah's Witnesses as well. And that was a route that I didn't want to go. That wasn't the route for me. And I never like to talk religion because it just brings up too much. But what I remember when I moved here to do the family tree, we didn't have the internet at the time. And for my sons to pick up that I want to get our family tree because we're creating a family crest. Okay. It's all about the dynasty. It's all about the legacy. I told them my picture needs to be on the wall because they need to know. I'm not joking. Am I joking? I'm not joking. Okay, my daddy, my picture, and your bonus dad, our pictures need to be on the wall. Okay, but they need to know what was sacrificed for them to get where they are, because it seems like the world sometimes is reverting. We have to deal with racism and with my sons being a different complexion as me. I remember Marcus was a baby, and a woman, she was a Caucasian woman, and we were in the mall. And she said, "Ooh, I know his mother is gorgeous." I said, "Well, thank you." So I never let them, like, guys, there's racism out here. So, and you're a Black man. You are considered a Black man. So we have to be prepared at every level. So I don't need you to be out there with your pants hanging down or, when they were younger, right? Even their dad. I say, if your pants are below, you're getting popped in the butt. Do you guys remember that? I'm just letting you know. Okay. If you dragging and sagging, you're getting popped in the butt. Right. Alex wasn't too happy about that. As you can see, he's not making any facial expressions.
That's hilarious.
But it's just about expectations. It's about, the world sees you one way, but how are you going to act when your parents are not around? That's called your core values. Well, how are you going to act? So even though you're, I would never know that your mom is not a part of your life, but she is a part of your life in every decision that you make. Everything that you do, the man that you are today is because of the foundation that she laid in you in the beginning. Sure. And so creating and leaving those legacies and putting that little mustard seed in you. Yeah. Okay, has made you become the man that you are today. Absolutely. And that's what I hoped to leave, because I see nothing but greatness in you. We see you do nothing but great things. Okay. And to know that you have a beautiful family. How old are your children?
So I have 5 children.
Wait, what?
What?
I got 5 children. So if you go on my page right now,
I've never seen them.
If you go on my IG right now, my last 3 posts, you'll see them all.
What?
Yeah. So
see this right now.
So I have a 17-year-old daughter. I just took her to prom. Her name is Nevaeh. Her name is Nevaeh. And then I have my son Malachi. He's 16. I play basketball with him almost every weekend. So like the one-on-ones that you see are with him. And then I have my son Isaiah. He's 15. He's in the picture. I think it's just me and him in the picture with my daughter's prom pics. I have the 2 children with my wife. I have Journey, who's 10, and then Kyrie, who will turn 5 on the 22nd of this month.
So you're a proud papa. Look at that smile. You can't stop smiling.
Daddy. And they remind me of it every day when they ask me for money. Dad, you the money.
Can you look, you a parent, because I remember these 2. Hey, Mom, I'm like, Lord have mercy. Okay. We already know who's gonna be the daddy first. I think it's gonna be Alex. But they're gonna make amazing fathers, because he's always trying. I kid you not. If you're around us, he acts like my dad. It is crazy. Alex, on you. It's on you, man.
I mean, that's what I'm here for, right? Make sure that she doesn't act out of line, right? No,
because I will buck up now. So, okay.
So, for one, I didn't know you had 5 children. I knew you had children because I did actually recently see you posted a picture with your daughter for prom. But being an adult, being a father of basically young adults, right? And with your entrepreneurship journey and things of that nature, how have you been instilling that entrepreneurship mindset into them? And what things have you already been putting in place and are going to put in place to make sure that they essentially live the life that they want?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. Entrepreneurship to me is a language. And so the language is always spoken in our household. I believe poverty is a language. I believe mediocrity is also a language. I believe excellence is taught, but so is mediocrity. And so I don't know that I've done anything intentionally outside of being who I am to teach them entrepreneurship. But I can tell you this, my children have been saying affirmations since they were kids. And I didn't learn affirmations until I was 30. I can tell you that my daughter started her first business at 7. I didn't start my first business until 33. But on my way to drop Kyrie off at school every single day, we're either listening to a Darius Daniels, a Les Brown, an E.T. We're listening to some type of personal self-development, and he doesn't know anything else but that. It's funny when people ask me that, what I think about is our belief system is created the minute that we're born. The minute that we're born, we're being conditioned to believe life to be a certain way. I had to do a lot of unlearning and relearning because of the way that I was raised and the environment I was raised in. My children will not have that experience. And so my good friend Justin Owens, I think he says it best. He says, what was the ceiling for me will be the floor for my children. And so they'll never have to guess how to be entrepreneurs because that's just what they do, right? That's just who they are. And so, in the household, we do talk about business. With my older children that obviously don't live in my same household, anytime I have them around, they do ask me about business. And more than anything, we discuss mindset because I know they see the things that I have maybe a little bit different from the environments that they're currently living in. But what I try to instill in them over and over and over is, no, it's not that daddy got an insurance. No, it's not that daddy is a coach. It's who daddy became. And so, son, here's why you need to treat women with a certain type of respect. Because as you do that, it changes your integrity, it changes your character, and I can promise you it is having a residual effect in every other area of your life. Why? And my son Malachi will say it, because how you do anything is how you do everything.
How you do everything.
So those are belief systems that we're instilling in the kids now.
I got to chime in on that.
That's dope.
I definitely got to chime in on that. And it's something that you said about affirmations. And I think the boys, I think they were 12 and they were 11 and 13, and they were mad at me because I said, I need you to read Open Your Mind to Prosperity. And they're like, I don't want to read. I was like, you're going to read Open Your Mind to Prosperity. And the reason that is because, and one of my favorite saying is, you can make a way out of no way. Okay, so the book Open Your Mind to Prosperity is by Catherine Ponder, and it has some of the bases of what you would get from Think and Grow Rich. And all of these things that I would, have them do, they never understood it and they didn't like it. But now both of them are like, wow. And the 4 agreements, they're like, wow, this is what you've been telling us the whole time. And all they've ever seen us is in business for ourselves. So they don't know, although I think Alex went the path is, I want a job. And I was like, well, go and do your thing then. Because you need to know that you need to start somewhere. And I'm glad that they did do the job, because what they did is they became a server, and it showed humility. Okay. Because in order for you to make money, you have to service other people. And to me, that was the best experience that both of them could have, because you have to be humble. And when you're out there working to make the money, and then you're not going to always be rewarded. And again, the world is not fair. Okay. So you're not going to always be rewarded for the good works that you do. Okay. Because somebody, well, you're just doing this because you want a tip. You want a good tip. Well, sometimes you're not going to get that. And that's how life is. Sometimes you're not going to get, just because you're doing all these great things, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get what you want, or it's not going to come at the time that you want to end. Because they say he's always on time, right? Not in your timing. It'll be in his timing. So, and that's why I'm like, if you do things the right way all along, it will come to you eventually. The success in the business, what you want in your relationships, and I'm just going to be very candid. I'm like, don't be sticking and moving, because, hey, you don't want to, don't do it. Do I not say it like that, guys? Do not stick and move. I said, do not treat women like that, because you wouldn't want somebody treating me like that. But I'm I'm a little bit different. I'm gonna keep it real, because I don't want them to all I can do as a parent, as a mother, is try to protect them, but they're gonna go through their own pain, through business, through relationships. They're gonna have their own experience. They're gonna have to see it for themselves, and they have to have their own journey. But if we as parents, and you have 5 beautiful ones, we want to, as we potentially can, protect them as much as we can by the experiences that we have. And that is through clearing the mind. Like when The Secret came out, I don't know how many times they've watched that,
I really do have a number for it.
And Michael Beckwith, again, he said you could make a way out of no way. When things seem bleak, all you have to do is call upon it, and it's there. But again, that's through your words and your actions and how you operate. And, and I think Marcus, his mom, he said, God, you're a finesser, right, Marcus?
I say, what did I used to say when I was in college?
How do you finesse money, mommy?
I always wonder, okay, this is me being in the outside in, right? So I'm gonna give you a little backstory so you can kind of understand what I'm saying. So in college, I was always, a broke college student, right? This is just who I was.
Yes, you should be.
Right. So I had asked my mom for money, and she would say, we don't got it right now. And then the next day she'd be like, here you go. And I'm like, didn't you just say we don't have it? Like, what do you mean? Like, here you go. Like, where'd you get it from? Like, this don't make sense. How are you always making money somewhere because I'm not at that point. I don't think I'm in an entrepreneurship mindset, right? I don't have that mindset yet. So like just finding money or doing income producing activities to get the money, I didn't understand at the time. So I'm like, where is she getting all this? Like, how does this make sense? Like, she just said we ain't got, because, when you're in college, and you're in middle class, like nowadays they're saying that the middle class is no longer going to exist, because the gap is going to get wider and wider. So at that time, I'm guessing, looking back, hindsight, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, then this is definitely like a wider type of situation, because we're middle class and they're trying to get us up out of the middle class. If we ain't got it, I can't. How does the lower class feel? You see what I'm saying? So I mean, just to give you a background story on that, I think I called her like the finesse queen or something like that. I was just like, how are you even getting the money? I'm thinking, what is it called that you always say, robbing Peter to pay Paul type of situation? I don't know the whole. I just was confused.
Right. Well, what it was is, growing up, I used to remember my mother saying, robbing Peter to pay Paul. And I'm like, oh my God. And as a child, you take things literally. I was like, my mom is robbing Peter. And I'm like, who the heck is Paul? My mom's going to jail. I'm like, what's going on? I never understood the terminology, of course, until I was adult. Whereas Alex was a little bit different. Alex was the baby, so he was kind of here, and he football and all his activities. And so for him, but we weren't into name brand. Like, no, I'm not doing that. So when people look at us now, they're like, oh, you guys need the new cars and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, we don't, and Marcus is a minimalist. And he's like, oh, I'll drive my Kia, because it's not about that. It's about, and I tell him all the time, I was like, guys, look, I said, you guys want to go to Dubai? And they was like, yeah. I said, all right, let's go. And we were gone in 2 weeks. But if we have all these super high ticket items, that's not where the value is. The value is what you spend with your family, what kind of income producing activities you're able to do together, how you're going to build the wealth together, how you're going to sustain your family. That's what wealth to me is, not by just the quick, throw it up, and my favorite Rihanna song. Okay. Throwing up. I mean, it's like, yeah, we can enjoy all of that, but let's enjoy it by traveling the world and having those experiences. Alex is the avid traveler. Marcus, he used to speak Chinese and go on to China. And you wouldn't be able to do that if we sitting up here balling and shot calling and trying to keep up with the Joneses. You want to experience life, but we want to do it as a family, because again, the value is the family. Remember, when they break up the Black home, what do we have?
Let me ask you this, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Mamia.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Can you give? I feel like this is something that most people who are married or who are wanting to build a family business, because I believe that's what you built, right? Is unconsciously or consciously, right? Is a family business. Like you said, like you just demonstrated how entrepreneurship was made or created within your family without you even needing to put, like, you put effort, but like you said, it's born. Like that belief was there before. So can you give me an example for our audience of like how your relationship with your family has impacted your entrepreneurship like realm, I guess you could say? Because as you know, it stems from the relationship. And I feel like a lot of people don't really know, like, you know, your relationship got to be great. So your entrepreneurship side, your business can be great, but like there's no steps or like tactful things that you can do. Can you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you clarified that. So again, the biggest challenge that I have that faces most of the young men that reach out to me that are husbands or that are fathers is in that area of balance. And they're like, okay, but how can I build my business? Like what most people think is there needs to be a sacrifice. The sacrifice should never be your family. Well, no, Damon, there is a season where I'm going to be unbalanced, right? No. Well, how can you say that? Well, I got to work the 12 to 12. I got to, man, I got to make it happen while the going gets good. It's going to be the 16-hour days. And I'm here to tell you, no, this is my belief. Why do I have this belief? I believe that people feel they have to work that hard because they don't know who they are. Damon, what are you talking about? You got to work that hard when you don't realize that you're made in the image and likeness of the Creator. And anything that He creates doesn't have to struggle to grow. And if I'm struggling to grow in a certain area, it means that I don't know what my purpose is. If I know what my original intent is, then that means money is going to flow to me easily and effortlessly when I'm working and operating in my divine purpose and gift. Let me start there. So a lot of people aren't accomplishing what they want to accomplish because they're simply out of position. And so once we get back into a position, in other words, alignment, now all I have to do is have structure. Again, structure equals freedom. Most people say, man, I don't have the time. I just haven't had the time to spend with the family. I don't have time to spend with my wife. And then I ask them, okay, well, how much time do you have in a week? And they go, what do you mean? How many hours are in a week? For about 95% of people, they have to grab their calculator. And I laugh at them because I said, listen, whatever you mismanage will leave you. Whatever you mismanage will leave. And so if you're not able to manage your time, if you don't even know how much time you have, then that means it is leaving you. And so I don't ask people to necessarily manage time, but I want you to manage your priorities. I'll share this quick story with you. I remember my first mentor asking me, because I came to him with this idea of, you know, some of my other business partners were telling me, hey, just tell your wife for the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to be busy, right? Just tell her she's not going to see you for the next 2 to 3 years. He said, that's incorrect. He said, I have a question for you. He said, Damon, what are your priorities? And just like anybody else, I gave the answer in my head, not in my heart, right? I said, oh, that's simple. God, family, business, and then me. If I have any time, me. And then he said, okay, cool. For the next week, I want you to write down what you do every hour on the hour for the previous hour. And so as I did that, when I came back to him, here's what my priorities actually were based on what I was doing. As my mama said, a pair of lips will tell you anything, right? The reason why a lot of us aren't in alignment is because the tongue in our mouth and the tongue in our shoes is going in 2 totally different directions. So I'm telling this man that my priorities are God, family, business, but the way they really were based on my actions, based on my daily activities, were quite the opposite. It was social media. It was me being in the gym. It was, okay, if I have a little time for family left over, at night I might read them a book. And then after that, it was God, but only when I was eating a meal. You know how you do that little prayer right before you eat meal? That was my time with God.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, I want you to change something. He said, I want you to do something called priority management. He said, because if your life is going to change, it is going to take commitment. And commitment only shows up in one of 2 areas, either in your time or in your money. So if I look at your calendar, I clearly know what you're committed to. If I look at your bank account, I clearly know what you're committed to. And so what he told me to do is every single Sunday, here's the strategy you were asking for. Every single Sunday, I take out my calendar. I've had these calendars for the past, This is called a gallery leather notebook. I've had this since 2015. And so every week on Sunday, what I do is I take this out and I take one priority at a time. So let me give you an example. If I said my priorities are God, family, business, and then Damon's personal time, then that means the first thing that I'm going to write down for Monday through Sunday is what? Time with God. And so I'm automatically putting in margin in a framework of from 5 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. is my time in spiritual practice. Then what I do is, okay, next is family. So what do? I have a conversation with my wife. Babe, what do we have going on this week? We got date day. We got date night. What activities do the kids have? And then I put that in my calendar next. It goes in first before business or anything else. Then what do? Then I put in my business time. Because most entrepreneurs fail because we think we're free. No, we're not free. We just simply traded in our 9 to 5 to an open and close. From the moment I open my eyes to the moment I close my eyes, I'm typically working, right? And then the last thing is Damon's personal time. So if I have any margin, my personal time typically for me to fill my cup is from 6:30 a.m. to about 9 a.m. That's when I'm at the gym. That's when I'm taking in my personal self-development. That is my time. And what I found is when I stick to that schedule, not always perfect, but when I stick to that schedule, everyone gets 100% of me. So now I don't have to be with my wife, but I'm thinking about being at the gym. I don't have to be at the gym, but I'm thinking about work. I don't have to be with my kids, but I'm thinking about spiritual struggles, right? Now, the other thing I encourage everybody to do to implement this is you need 2 C's. Really, it's 4 C's, but you need a coach and you need a counselor. I would not be before you right now had I never invested in coaching or mentorship. I also would not be here had I never gotten a therapist. Listen, I wouldn't even been able, when I talk to, I would not have even been able to say what I said to you at that event about my mother had I never gotten therapy. Because I didn't even understand how hurt I was and what that hurt was causing. I didn't understand trauma. I didn't understand abandonment. I didn't understand why I was behaving certain ways towards certain people and where this was showing up in my business and relationships. And had I never gotten therapy, I would have never had an opportunity to heal. And so I just want to say this to everybody that's listening. For many of you, intellectually, you have everything that it takes to be successful. Matter of fact, most of us are working hard enough to do everything it takes to be successful. But the reason why a lot of us are stuck is not because of the matters of the head, not because of the matters of the hand, but the matters of the heart. And our heart is keeping us stuck. And that's what a counselor and a therapist is for. So hopefully that answers your question, brother.
Yo, that was good. That was good. You said there was 4 C's. Now I'm gonna ask a selfish question real quick. What are the other 2 C's?
Yep. So you got, if you want to advance, and what I'll talk about is quantum leaps, right? Not making steps in the right direction, taking a quantum leap. You are going to need, number 1, a coach. I need somebody that has already created success in a specified field of endeavor to help me become successful. Number 2, I'm going to need a community. Why? Because willpower does not create success. It's environment. My environment will always be more powerful than my will. So I need people around me that are congratulating me and not just tolerating me. Number 3, I'm going to need some content. I need content because, listen, whatever I'm repeatedly listening to or seeing on a daily basis is having an effect on what I'm believing for. And so the coach is going to provide me with the content, which is going to give me the last C, a competence. In other words, a skill set. And so if I want to be successful in business in a chosen field of endeavor, whether it's coaching, whether it's counseling, whether it's course creating, whether it's insurance, whether it's real estate, whether it's Turo, I'm going to need all 4 of those C's for me to truly take a quantum leap.
It's interesting you said that, and I'm Alex over there taking all the notes. He's our note taker because he writes everything down. It's interesting because what kind of really, I got into network marketing in 2008. Ooh, to be honest, I was introduced to network marketing from my ex-husband, the boy's dad. It's Mellow.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
He wanted to do Melaleuca, and I was like, I don't want to do that. but what it did, the industry itself, because everything is network marketing as far as I'm concerned, it's relationship building. It's relationship building. Okay. And I got hooked in it. And it was the journey of where how, in all honesty, the boys and I really got close, because it was like, guys, this is a way you can trade your time, because they'd already seen me make a lot of money in business, but the industry itself is where the relationships, and at first network marketing was pretty selfish, but now, as you know, everything is about collaboration, and it's about relationship and collaboration. And so to be able, Alex has his people that he we're all different businesses in a sense, but we're our main business. So we all have our own talents, and we all have relationship with different people. And so as I was sitting up here talking with you, when you told us to go to Instagram, and here's our inbox is flooding with people that want to get on our podcast, because like, wow, this fanpreneur thing is really big, and people have always asked, how do you guys work together? I said, it was a long journey of listening to each other. And it's so funny, because now when we go through our meetings, I think Alex did it this weekend, he was slapping, wow, we got through our meeting in 1 hour. And it would sometimes be 3 hours, because we're going back and forth, and everything is just running so smoothly because we respect each other. We put God in our business, because the first thing we generally do is pray. We listen to each other. And again, not everything is going to be perfect. Okay. Not everything is going to run smooth. We're not going to always agree, but we always come together in the end. And we always make some magic. So we're going to be having our family business summit. This is all about the family of entrepreneurs, and we're going to include the children. And it would be nice if you and the fam come out.
Yeah.
Yes, yep. In the ATL. It would be nice, because we just want to show that there are Black and brown families that do come together. That stigma of Black people can't work together is an absolute lie. I don't like hearing that. I think it's the wrong type of message to put out there, that we don't work together when we're seeing so many people working together. And we just want people to understand and know that we can rock this thing out, and we can save our communities, save our families, and start building some legacy wealth together. And then we can become that Black Wall Street that was in Oklahoma. And save our communities. And that's what it's all about for me. You can see Alex has on his family business manager.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, we're and Marcus has on his empire. I feel bad because I didn't rock my shirt today, but it's all about the business. I'm the one that normally wears this. I'm just like, dang, I meant to go change my shirt. I was like, they got the shirt on. Yo, I forgot to put my shirt on. But no, I'm really grateful for you taking the time out, and we're honored to hear about your beautiful family, and I can't wait to see what your young people grow up to be. And I'm just honored to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to break down what exactly, to our audience, because I want them to know exactly what you do. What do you do, and for like what business model do you run? Like tell us what you do.
Yeah, so I own an insurance agency. I started in the life insurance industry in 2014 in an area called final expense life insurance. So the long and short of it is, when I got into the industry, honestly, I just needed to make some money. And I remember going around to a bunch of financial firms and interviewing. And of course, because I'm able to do this well, they all wanted me to join. And I had a very simple question. It was an expectation. I said, how long is it going to take me to make six figures? And with everybody that I was visiting and interviewing with, they said anywhere from 3 to 4 years. You would build a book of business, you would solicit friends and family, and then you would create a nice amount of income. I didn't have that amount of time to take. And so I remember speaking to a mentor of mine. He said, Damon, listen, if you get your life insurance license, you'll never have to worry about money in your life again. And so that's what we did. I did really, really well as a personal producer. I was number 5 out of a little over 5,000 agents from 2015 to 2018. 2018, we went independent. I started my own agency. We went from basically 2 agents, myself and a business partner, to 160 over 28 different states. Still final expense primarily, but we started to expand in advanced market products like IULs, annuities. We're venturing into health insurance now. But what ended up happening in 2020 and 2021, I spoke to my mentor's wife. I've been putting out content on YouTube and Facebook and IG since probably 2014. My main business has always made money, so I never needed to try to be profitable as a coach. And she said, listen, Damon, if you don't put a price to what you're putting out there, the only people that will ever value what you do, she said, you need to put a price to what you're doing. And so started to venture down this thing of coaching and consulting and course creating. And that's been a journey in itself. But my main bag is definitely still the financial services industry.
Yeah, I had my insurance license. Hold on for a second, Marcus.
Oh, go ahead.
The one thing that I'm making sure, and I want Alex to chime in on this because he's just been really quiet. He's been taking notes. But I remember when I got my insurance license, because my father was a retired options trader. He was vice president of Pershing in Chicago. And the one thing he always said was, get your insurance license. And it's funny because we had all studied, I regret letting my insurance license lapse. I'm not going to even lie, because you can always make some money in insurance, like you said. And the one thing that we were doing was final expense. And that's the one thing that I wanted to change, because that's the only thing in the Black and brown community would think about is, hey, we got to bury. But now we need to be thinking more as that's about building wealth. And that's what you're talking about, the IULs and the annuities. And so I really want to change that stigma of, and yes, you can make a lot of money. I know I did. Okay. I want to change that stigma in our community, because I remember them saying that, hey, in the Black community, you only want to sell the term. The wealth building, you want to sell to the others. And that bothered me. And that's what kind of got me out of the industry, because I was just like, wow, that's crazy, but that's what it appeared. And that's why it's important for us to show people how they need to start building their own wealth, and that you have an opportunity to have wealth through insurance if you know the right insurance to have. So with Marcus and Alex, it's like, come on, we're getting our license. I said, I have to get mine back. So if I'm getting it, you guys got to get it too, because it's another avenue of you having your own wealth. Can you give some pointers about that as to why it's important to build wealth through insurance?
From which aspect? From having an insurance policy or being an insurance?
The policy and on the agent side, because it's another way of always being able to generate income, but on the policy side of being able to build wealth. Yeah,
I will say this. From an agent side, I can talk about that all the time. My expertise is more in final expense. We have a side of the business that focuses on IULs and annuities, but I'm going to say this because it's not going to be the popular answer.
Just say it.
I think because of, how do I want to say this without?
We direct here. Come on, Damon.
I believe that what's happening right now in the industry is that the way it's been marketed isn't in alignment with what's best for our culture, or necessarily what our culture has the capacity to do. And so the challenge is, yes, I can use certain insurance products to begin building wealth, i.e., pulling funds from, building up, using the interest, things that most marketers use to make it more attractive. The challenge is the 1% is still the 1%. And so when we talk about the majority who this product is being marketed to, the majority doesn't even have $500 a month in savings. And so to put anything above $500 a month in an IUL to actually begin using it as a wealth building strategy is very rarely the case. What I've seen is wealthy people being able to take advantage of these policies because they have the access liquidity to be able to do so. And so if I have 20,000, if I have 40,000, if I have 100,000, if I have a large amount of funds that came in from a trust or whatever it may be, yeah, I can use that to begin building wealth quickly. Now, I do believe we all need to be educated on how to protect our wealth. So as we're working as entrepreneurs, as we have jobs, to be able to put our money into the proper trust, to be able to put our money into the proper insurance vehicles, yes, I believe that's very, very important. But I think we definitely get to be a little bit more careful as a culture in how we share some of the insurance. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I totally understand. Yeah. And I'm saying this, don't get me wrong. I think the final expense was very popular for me. Okay. And as a matter of fact, it's essential because I'm tired of seeing people with the GoFundMe. And if you have an insurance policy that is for your final expense, for just in case something happens to a family member, then those things are taken care of. We had a final expense when Daddy passed. If it wasn't for the final expense, then we would have been trying to figure out how to come out with money. But it hadn't been things that were put in place, we would have been potentially like everybody else. But we had a final expense policy. So everybody needs a final expense. Everybody needs insurance in case something happens. It's not because in our community they get, I don't want to talk about death. No, you need to talk about it because then you're going to be left holding the bag, and then you're going to be trying to figure out how to raise the money. So if we spend this little money on the insurance policy, that'll take care of the burial and take care of your casket and anything. Or if you want to be cremated, then you're not having to worry about where the money's coming from. That is how we were taught to do it. It's like to protect the family so they're not worried. You don't want to put them in a financial strain.
You know what I think it really, really is, Dr. Tamara? I think what it is for me right now in the stage and season I'm in, especially in being a servant leader, there's a lot of talk about passive income strategies, but I don't think there's enough talk about active income. Like there needs to be, I think we're in an economy and a time right now where we have to begin discussing how to make the money. Right? Like, okay, business credit is available. All these credit streams are available. But if you're not developing yourself into the proper person, you're going to mess up your credit. If you're not developing the right set of skills, then you're going to be back at square one very, very soon anyway. And so that's what I would love to see as a paradigm shift in our industry as a whole. And I think what's happening is a lot of people, especially in the coaching space, that are being solicited to are holding their dollars because kind of in a sense the gig is up. Like we're used to the challenges, we're used to the webinars, we're used to the boot camps. We know that at the end of this, of you sharing information with us, you're going to make an offer. But the truth is a lot of them have been burned. And so what they're looking for now is they're looking for authenticity. And I think what they're really looking for is, okay, how do I really get this done? And so you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think honestly that passive income, it doesn't exist. I don't think there's such thing as passive income, personally speaking, because when, like, I remember listening to an Alex Hormozi video, and he mentioned how he, that goal of, I want to get so high in the business where I don't work anymore. Right. And so he got to the point where he no longer needed to work. And I think for a solid year and some change, he did nothing, and he was depressed. You see what I'm saying? Because as a man or as a person who's, a business owner, you thrive off of solving problems, off of working, off of like that active being able to make money with the activity, with income producing activities. I mean, that's why income producing has activities at the end. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't say income producing passive. It doesn't make sense to me. Like activity, you have to do some form of activity in order for your business to still be moving. It doesn't matter if it's, a form coming your way and you have to review the form and then you make a call to situate it. That is a form of activity. It may not be as active as a new starting business owner, but I think the fact that people are pushing passive income, I don't even think even exists, because passive doesn't exist. Because if it was passive, we'd all find that one business that is called passive and we'd all be doing it at the same time. Do you see what I'm saying?
But if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. It has to be. Some things you have to work at it. No matter what, you gotta work at it.
Yeah.
It's not everything,
For sure. I believe in compound interest, not just in money, but also in skill sets as well. And so I think over time, you can build something to the point where it begins to operate on autopilot. But I think it goes from a making to managing to maintenance, right? Like what you were talking about in the past of, okay, now I'm just overseeing certain things. And that's really the goal. Like, I want to spend my time in necessarily work, right? Like, I want to spend my time with my family. I think over the last few years, that's what I valued more than anything, because I did have a period of time where it was 12 to 14-hour days. And I did have periods where I was driving from Columbus, Ohio to almost Chicago and going to see the leads and building the team and going to the events. And it's like, man, like, I didn't realize that driving 10 minutes with my son to take him to school was more fulfilling than being on a stage. Like, it was one point in my life where, oh my God, put me on a stage in front of 1,000 people, that I've made it. And now it's like, no, I just want to cuddle with my wife. You know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. I want to cuddle with her in a 20,000 square foot home, right? But I still want to cuddle. Okay.
Say that again.
So yeah, I'm with you all for sure.
I have one last question, and then the other my other partners can ask. You mentioned that you pretty much have a team of 100 or some odd people or agents. Is that correct? Okay, so my question is, I'm quite curious, and I'm pretty sure, and I don't know, maybe this is just me, but the infamous morning routine, daily routine, evening routine type of thing. I'm curious on what your specific daily routine is as a business owner. And I know you hinted at it when you were talking about God, family, really the hierarchy, God, family, business, and you, right? So like, can you really break down, and I know as an entrepreneur, it does shift depending on the day, but like on average, like what is like your daily routine? Like, how does your meetings go?
Yeah, so I'm gonna answer that question by speaking to the general entrepreneur audience, because I would hate to give my schedule right now, because many people are not me. Right. So a general entrepreneur building a business, there's a principle. And the principle is, to me, that the only thing certain about entrepreneurship is that there is a high level of uncertainty. And so between the hours of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., there are no guarantees. And so if I want to truly, which I think is the highest attribute of any entrepreneur, have a high level of emotional intelligence, which means I'm able to respond to the uncertainties of entrepreneurship instead of reacting to them, then I'm going to have to be able to control two parts of my day, which is the minute I wake up and before I go to sleep at night. If you also do your research, this is when your subconscious mind is the most impressionable, which means if 90% of the behaviors I make every single day are on autopilot, then I need to do my best to control those for a positive outcome. And so not only controlling your morning routine, but also my night routine. Number one, I'm not touching a technical device at least for 2 hours after I wake up in the morning and before I go to sleep at night. Does that include TV, Damon? Yes, unless Snowfall is on, and then I'm watching it.
I'm done.
Oh, it's power for me. Okay, it's power goes for me. Okay.
So you want to do your best to control the night. In the morning, I typically wake up around 4:45 a.m. The very first thing I do before I do anything else is called a rampage of appreciation or gratitude. I start the day with gratitude. Let me digress. Before I do that, can everybody do me a favor? Try to not hit the snooze. You not hitting the snooze and getting up the minute your alarm goes off establishes a discipline that will establish a confidence that you need to be an entrepreneur. Confidence is all about keeping the promises that you make to yourself. And so when you set your alarm the night before, you have made an internal commitment that I'm getting up at this time. The minute you hit snooze, you have confirmed that you are lying to yourself and you're taking money out of your confidence account. So that's number one. The next thing is gratitude, at least 10 to 15 minutes of just gratitude. Sometimes I do that while I'm on my knees, while I'm praying. Sometimes I'll do that while I'm in the bed, but I'm just appreciating everything. Lord, thank you for waking me up in my right mind. Lord, thank you for the sheets. Thank you for the people that made the sheets. Thank you for my family. Thank you for my home. Thank you. Like, I'm just in extreme amounts of appreciation. The next thing I do is I try to drink at least a liter of water. Spring water, natural spring water. If you all look it up, there's a podcast called The Model Health Show, and his name is Sean Stevenson. He discusses the importance of the type of water we drink. I'm really, really health conscious, so just check that out. That's just a side note. But anyway, I do a liter of water, and then after that, I read my goals. And so I have all of my goals stretched out to 5 years, but I read them in first person present tense. Once I'm done with that, I have a meditation that I do, and then I'm to the gym. That's my morning routine. After that, I take Kyrie to school. At night, it's pretty much the same. Well, no, it's not the same at all. The last thing I do before I go to sleep, I try to read something. Right now, I'm reading, what am I reading right now? And this can be an audio book, but it is, I got to give this to you guys because you're going to love it. And I'm like, if you love it so much, you don't know the title of it? No, I just know what they be saying. 10x is easier than 2x.
10x is easier than 2x.
10x is easier than 2x. It's by Dan Sullivan. How world-class entrepreneurs achieve more by doing less.
Oh, I have heard of that book. I've never heard the 10x is easier than 2x, but I've definitely heard that.
It literally just came out on the 9th. But shout out Marvin Mitchell. He was the one that told me to get it. So check that one out. Awesome. And then I just read my affirmations before I go to sleep. At night, I do listen to something. I usually listen to like nighttime affirmations. I'll have it in my ear at night. But yeah, those are my secrets to success.
Yeah, there's so much negativity going on. It's like you gotta, stop the noise. I mean, it's like, I don't know. The boys, they would catch me sometimes with my affirmations. I'll have playing in the morning or whatever, or I'll recite what I needed to say. And I think I actually mentioned that to you when we were at Marvin's event, where we would record into a recording and let that play back to ourselves. The affirmations that we want to manifest, and those things have been manifesting now. So I'm excited.
That's dope.
I'm gonna turn it over to Big Al. He's been quiet the whole time. I'm shocked.
I don't really have any questions. I've just been listening and taking notes. So very
okay.
Well, man, I feel like this podcast has just been. I took a lot of notes, man.
Me too.
A lot of notes. That
learn from everybody.
Priority management right there of really being aware of what we really are doing compared to what we want to do. That was crazy. Like God, family, business, me, and then really mapping it out every Sunday. Yeah. That was good. I think that's something that brings more awareness to me. It makes me want to look at I got my calendar right here. I'm like, dang, am I following that too? Like, it puts me in perspective, because kind of like how I have my schedule is just, I have certain days where I take meetings only. These are these are my meeting days. This is my admin day. This is my IPA day, like my income producing activities day, and then my content, you theme your days, you know what I'm saying? So like, I have it themed out, but the fact that, I feel like yours is just a little bit more intentional than what most people are implementing within their daily life. Cause it's for you, at this point, like how you described it was more like a lifestyle. It's not like, oh, this is what I'm going to do today. Like most people do. Today, I'm going to do this. Today, I'm going to do this. But in your eyes, you're looking more in an eagle's eye view, and you're viewing it in a week's time and making sure that it aligns, because I feel like that more aligns with your values than more of just what my routine is going to be. You see what I'm saying? So I found that really, really reassuring, because I'm looking for a counselor right now. Honestly, I got that. I don't even know if you can't even see it. There's like a board there. and I put like a coach's checklist. Like, I don't know if you do, but like I have a checklist of coaches. So mine says, like, the first thing literally says therapist. That's the first thing, right? Health and wellness, relationship, financial, and spiritual, right? I have all four out of 5 of them checked off. You see what I'm saying? So like the therapist is what I'm currently doing research on right now. But like the fact that you even mentioned it is not something that people of our skin color even talk about. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like that was super, super important.
Thank you, man.
That was just mind blowing for me.
Let me just say a little bit last bit on that. Because everyone is realizing that mental illness is actually very prevalent in our community, and that there's nothing wrong with speaking to a therapist. Even I need a therapist, or, you know, I had one years ago, and it's like, I'm getting ready to go back just because, you know, I turned 55. I can't believe it. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm getting older. What am I going to do? So just that part of it, things are different. Life is different. You know, I remember black and white TV. I remember the rotary phone. I remember kids going outside, you know, and it was okay. And here it is every other month or every 6 months, somebody's getting shot up in a school. So it's just like, you know, all, and then the scam pandemic, you know, and that's what I call it, the scam pandemic. Okay. And so just life is different. So just in that aspect, you know, sometimes we just need to talk to somebody just to work out whatever it is that you need to work out. I agree. You know, Alex used to go just because he was like, hey, I want to talk to somebody. You know, everybody has something, you know, that they have to work out, you know, or something that's going on in their head. And, you know, sometimes you need somebody that's not close to you just to be able to just vent out what needs to be vented out, you know. So I'm glad to hear that you were able to get some healing. Mama T is there, you know, hey, I'm always here.
Mama T, appreciate it.
So yeah, Mama T is always here. But we thank you so much for being on our podcast today.
Yeah, Damon, where can they find you, bro? How can they say, look, I want to work with Damon, I want to contact you?
Yeah, just find me on Instagram, Damon P. Dillard on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, Damon Dillard there. You can go to DamonPDillard.com. There's some options for coaching on there as well. Or just shoot me a DM. You know, we can find out what's going on.
Hey, that's lit. Look, y'all heard it from the best here at the Fanpreneur Podcast. We are here to give you all exclusive content from exclusive people. So y'all gonna have to tune in for the next one, because we got plenty of people lined up. So I appreciate y'all, and we'll see you in the next.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Damon.